All right, let's get it. Yeah. Why the Zodiac killer was never found. Listen. First of all, the first time I heard about him since we watched our other video the other day, he already lost me. His outfit, the executioner outfit is crazy. Like, seeing somebody dress up like that and it's not Halloween, I'm instantly panicking. Word to bro. I don't care if he's 5'3". Nah, I can't lie. If he's 5'3", I'm crushing.
1968, around 10:15 p.m., 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen parked at a gravel turnout, a well-known popular lovers lane on Lake Herman
Oh, this
Road
happened in
the
San
small northern
Francisco?
California town of Benicia. Sadly, the teenage sweethearts never made it home after.
Wait. What? Northern California, but it's in San Fran?
A
What?
well-known popular lovers lane on Lake Herman Road in the small northern California town of Benicia. Sadly, the teenage sweethearts never made it home after their date. They were found shot to death shortly after 11
Shot
p.m.
to death.
Thus began the reign of terror by the Zodiac killer. From December 1968 through October 1969, a serial killer who came to be known as the Zodiac killer from the cryptic letters he sent to the press plagued.
Alright. So this is what I would say. Out of all serial killers, right? You got a blick? That's not tough. I can't lie. If you're gonna be a serial killer, you gotta do something like cool. Like, I mean, not cool. It's not cool. It's not cool. Let me say, I'm sorry. It's not cool, but you gotta do something exotic with the peoples. Like, you know, the writing the letter stuff is kind of crazy, but you using a blick though. You see what I'm saying? That's weak. Or flip, that's weak.
From December 1968 through October 1969, a serial killer who came to be known as the Zodiac killer from the cryptic letters he sent to the press plagued the California Bay Area. Despite his brazen crimes and his clues to the
bro should have used Iron Man's hands. That's what I'm saying though. Like, writing letters is fake gangster. That is true. That is true.
plagued the California Bay Area. Despite his brazen crimes and his clues to the authorities, the Zodiac killer was never caught. A number of suspects have been
playing like
named by
superhero
law
music. Like, what's going on?
and amateur investigators over the years, but there has been no definitive proof as to who the Zodiac killer was. There are a lot of reasons why the Zodiac killer was never found. But first, a quick rundown of the depraved acts that made him so notorious. Nearly 7 months after the murders in Benicia, the Zodiac killer struck again. On July 4th, 1969, another young man and woman, Michael Mageau and Darlene Farron, were shot in Vallejo, California around midnight as they sat in a car parked at a golf course. The killer actually called.
So nobody heard about that? Like, nobody heard the gun? Like, this is what I'm not understanding. Like, how these people not getting caught. Like, you killing these people, you a quote unquote serial killer, but you using a gun. Like, how are you not getting caught? Like, you see what I'm saying? I'm bugging.
Young man and woman, Michael Mageau and Darlene Farron, were shot in Vallejo, California around midnight as they sat in a car parked at a golf course. The killer actually called the police from a payphone at about 12:40 a.m. and reported the double murder, also mentioning that he had killed the kids last year in reference to the Benicia slayings.
Nah.
The attack, but wasn't able to provide a description to the police. On July 31st,
I can't lie, that's crazy. How you called the cops saying that you did this and said y'all dead not gonna find me though. Nah. The police back then have to be super dirt. Where the bro?
1969, the Zodiac killer sent letters to 3 local newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times Herald. Each of these letters contained a confession of the 2 murders and 1/3 of a cipher. When assembled and cracked, the cipher discussed how much the Zodiac killer liked killing.
What?
On September 27th, 1969,
what did they say in the letter?
Came the 3rd attack. One evening, 2 college students, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, were relaxing by the shore of Lake Berryessa, about 25 miles from Napa, California, when they were approached by a man wearing a homemade executioner's mask.
I'm already seeing a theme. Well, first of all, I think he just hate love. He might just hate love. If he's doing this to everybody who's like on a date or whatever, this is crazy. Like, you know how brave you gotta be for you to be one person going up to a group of 2 people, even if it's just a man and a lady. You see what I'm saying? That still takes some balls. You're not only killing one person, you killing 2 people. You already got your odds beat against. against you. You see what I'm saying? That's crazy.
He claimed to be an escaped prison convict who was trying to get to Mexico. He needed the students' money and car. He tied them up and then, without warning, pulled out a knife and stabbed them. Then, he used a marker to vandalize Brian's car, memorializing his killing before making his escape.
Nah,
Again, the
what?
killer called the police from a payphone to alert them about the attack. Meanwhile, Good Samaritans had found the victims and they were rushed to the hospital. Miraculously, Hartnell survived his stabbing. A fourth attack happened on October 11, 1969, in the Presidio Heights area of San Francisco. The Zodiac killer shot a cab driver, Paul Stein, and then cut off and stole a part of the cabbie's bloody shirt. From then on, the killer sent taunting letters to the press and the police, referring to himself.
Wait, hold on. This one I'm definitely not understanding. This is happening in the middle right here. This is happening in Times Square. He's not getting found, basically.
Shot a cab driver, Paul Stein, and then cut off and stole a part of the cabbie's bloody shirt. From then on, the killer sent taunting letters to the press and the police, referring to himself as the Zodiac, and discussing the mystical and intellectual basis of his motivation for the killings. He also provided unknown details of his crimes, made threats, and offered puzzles and coded clues to future murder plots. Twice, he even included pieces of Stein's bloody shirt with his letters as proof. The fourth attack was the final one. For the next 5 years, the Zodiac killer continued to send letters to the media and authorities until 1974. Though he may have sent correspondence until 1978, no one can be sure if all the messages received really came from the killer. Over time, the authorities have interviewed nearly 2,500 people regarding the crimes. Due to the killer's communication with newspapers, which somewhat sensationally printed his letters, the public was highly interested in the Zodiac killer. Even today, tips still pour in and people have...
Ain't no way people like this is not getting found. Like, there's no evidence on the papers. There's no contamination on the bloody freaking shirt he took. There's like, what? You don't got cameras along the Bayside area where he constantly keep killing people at? We not thinking. You see what I'm saying? We not thinking. We not using what's up here. Come on, man. Come on.
Confessed to being the Zodiac killer and made accusations to authorities that various family members or colleagues were the Zodiac killer. Internet groups pore over every detail of the crimes in an attempt to crack the killer's identity. So far, only one of the 4 pictograms sent by the killer has ever been decoded. One of the 3 unsolved puzzles allegedly provides the name of the Zodiac killer. Here are some reasons as to why the Zodiac killer was never found. Provides the name of the Zodiac.
3 of the unsolved. Wow.
Killer. Here are some reasons as to why the Zodiac killer was never found. Number 1. The locations the murder took place in. The Zodiac killer murdered his victims during the course of about a year over a wide-ranging area.
Okay.
The first 2 murders took place 7 months apart in Benicia and Vallejo, California. Though the 2 murder scenes were less than 5 miles apart, they were in different municipalities and were therefore investigated by different police departments, as was...
So obviously the killer lives somewhere around here. Like, obviously. And I could be hella wrong. But come on, man. Like, come on. This is a big ass clue right here. You see what I'm saying?
The third attack near Napa and the 4th attack in San Francisco. 4 separate jurisdictions with different processes separately worked the cases during a time when each police department was an entity into itself, which leads us to the next reason why the Zodiac killer wasn't caught. Number 2. Mishandled police work.
See?
A variety of police mistakes were made with the Zodiac cases. During the Zodiac killer's final attack, witnesses called the police to alert them of a cab driver being shot by a middle-aged white male. On the first report of Zodiac cases, during the Zodiac killer's final attack, witnesses called the police to alert them of a cab driver being shot by a middle-aged white male. On the first report over the police radio, the operator described the shooter as a black male. Because of the mistaken description, 2 officers ignored a white man who crossed their paths as they were arriving to the crime scene. In one of his letters, the Zodiac killer sent a swatch of the cabbie's blood-stained shirt and taunted the police for their mistake in not apprehending him when they had the chance.
Wow. Wow. So this dude was right in front of their faces and he didn't get caught because there was two different calls describing two different people.
Mistaken description, two officers ignored a white man who crossed their paths as they were arriving to the crime scene.
Wow. And he probably did that because he was white. But if he was black, hey, stop right there. You see what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
In one of his letters, the Zodiac killer sent a swatch of the cabbie's blood-stained shirt and taunted the police for their mistake in not apprehending him when they had
Like, let's
the
be
chance.
real, bro.
An ongoing mistake that all the jurisdictions were guilty of was a lack of information sharing. During the 1960s, there was very little interagency cooperation. Different jurisdictions were possessive of their cases. Red tape and egos got in the way. Even when the police wanted to share case files, it was harder to share back then. Which once again brings us to the next reason why the Zodiac killer wasn't caught.
Everybody be
Number
trying
three,
to take the
time
spotlight
period. During
for
the Zodiac
catching a
killer's
killer. Just
spree,
catch him,
there
bro.
was no ease of sharing information via technology. There were no fax machines, no computers, no cellular phones, no AFIS, automated fingerprint identification system. Also, the police may have had too much information and trouble parsing it. Once the Zodiac killer's correspondence was published, the police were inundated with a wide variety of tips from the public. Beyond all the technology and software which helps police gather data and analyze cases, modern forensics was still in its infancy. Crime scene investigation, CSI, was minimal,
That I
and the
understand.
evidence collected wasn't well preserved. Since then, pieces of evidence have been endlessly handled by the police. The Zodiac case was so popular and had developed such a mystique that evidence was sought out by curious authorities not directly working the case. Over the years, evidence has been rifled through, taken home by retiring cops who wanted to continue to work the case, and
What?
even stolen as souvenirs. Of course, DNA testing wasn't yet
They just
possible
doing
at the time of the
anything.
crimes. Since then, authorities have attempted to perform DNA tests on some items known to have been handled by the Zodiac killer, such as the stamps from the letters he sent. Unfortunately, since the evidence was poorly collected and has since degraded, investigators haven't yet been able to build a complete DNA profile from collected materials. However, testing is continuing. Also hampering the investigations was the fact that serial killers were poorly understood during the late 1960s. The FBI was just beginning to study the behavior of serial killers and to profile them. Most police departments simply were not experienced with these types of crimes and had no set processes for working serial murders with unconnected victims that seemingly had little or no motive. Number 4. It's been hard to identify the Zodiac killer because he had a fairly low victim count. In one of his letters to the media, the Zodiac killer claimed to have murdered 37 victims. Officials can only confirm 7 victims, 4 men and 3 women, with 2 of the men surviving their attempted murders.
That's crazy. The 2 survivors, though. Y'all some lucky people. Imagine being part of history like this. This is crazy.
What you think is worse, seeing a person shot or seeing someone with their insides ripped out?
Come on, bro. You know which one is the answer, bro. Seeing somebody with their insides ripped out, that's way worse. Getting murked with a knife is way worse than getting shot. Like, one is instant, one is like you're bleeding out. Like,
are another 4 murders that
one
were
can be
possibly
instant.
committed by the Zodiac killer, and 1 more survivor. The low body count made it hard for police to establish patterns when it came to the killer. By comparison, other well-known serial killers such as Ted Bundy or the Green River Killer murdered upwards of 30 people. During the reign of the Zodiac killer, the Manson family began their own spree, killing 8 people.
Wait, the Manson family?
During the reign of the Zodiac killer, the Manson family The main reason why the Zodiac killer has become so notorious is his cryptic, threatening, and taunting letters, many of which were printed in the local newspapers. Considering the similarity of the crimes, the police might have eventually linked the first 2 attacks together, the murder of the couples in Benicia and Vallejo. But the MO for the stabbings of the 3rd attack and the 4th, the shooting of the cabbie, don't fit, until the Zodiac killer taunted the police about the crime. SFPD was investigating the cabbie's murder as a robbery gone wrong. Without the Zodiac killer announcing his murders, linking them, and threatening future crimes, the murders have just been sad blips in police records. Number 5. Intertwined with the low body count making it hard to notice patterns and identify the Zodiac killer is the killer's MO or modus operandi. Serial killers tend to use the same method to murder each time, refining their techniques based on previous crimes. Also, they tend to pick the same type of victims. The Zodiac killer both stabbed and shot his victims and preyed on couples and a single person. In his letters, the killer threatened to blow up various locations and even included instructions for making a bomb, showing that he was well acquainted with how explosives worked. Usually, the method of killing is very personal to the serial killer, and while they alter it as needed, they rarely switch it to an altogether different method of murder. Once again, the police wouldn't have connected the murder of the cabbie with the Zodiac killer.
I see what they're
if he
saying. I
hadn't
see what
made
they're
a
saying.
taunting confession in one of his letters. The Zodiac killer seems to defy the typical classifications the FBI.
So they basically saying he's like unorthodox. Like this is he not really doing things a typical serial killer would do. He just killing. Yeah, exactly. He just like to kill people. Like plain and simple. He just like to kill people. Even though other serial killers like to just kill people too, but they like to kill people in a certain way, certain style, certain fashion. He just doing whatever. If I could kill him with a bomb, I would do that. If I could shoot him, I would do that. If I could kill him with a knife, I would do that. At first, there was a pattern with the relationship stuff, but then he just started doing whatever
has created for killers. In fact, he would be categorized as a mixed killer. He displays both traits of serial and spree killers, as well as both organized and disorganized offenders, which brings us to the next reason why the Zodiac killer was never identified. Number 6. The Zodiac killer may have been more than one person. There have been many different theories as to the identity of the Zodiac killer over the years. The Unabomber Ted Kaczynski was even bandied about as a suspect for a while. The police only
I heard about this dude. I forgot where I heard about him from. I don't know, but this was crazy. The Unabomber, this was crazy. He was a whole teacher. This dude was a whole teacher. Wait, was he a teacher?
Kaczynski was even bandied about as a suspect for a while. The police only publicly named a single suspect, Arthur Leigh Allen, a Vallejo, California school teacher who was institutionalized in 1975 for child molestation. Allen died in 1992 and in 2002 was exonerated when a relative of his provided a DNA sample to test against possible Zodiac killer DNA found on a stamp. There is definitely a camp of investigators that believe the Zodiac killer is multiple people. They point to the unusual mixed serial killer traits, the changing MO, and the intricate pictograms as proof that more than a single person was involved. Number 7. The Zodiac killer has managed to evade capture because he was simply lucky. The Zodiac killer committed his murders publicly, and yet hardly anyone saw anything.
But that's what I'm saying, like,
he actually briefly lingered at the scene and was...
Yo, that's the craziest thing. Like, he's doing these killings right in front of people and nobody's paying attention. Like, how blind you gotta be? You see what I'm saying? Like, he lingered at the crime scene, and when police came, he walked past them and they didn't arrest him. Like,
anyone saw anything. When he shot the cabbie, he actually briefly lingered at the scene and was seen by some local teens. In the poor light of a dim fall evening, they weren't able to get a good look at him. Likewise, it was from pure luck that the police operator misidentified his description.
Wow.
Also, while walking away from the scene of that shooting, the Zodiac killer just happened to turn in a direction away from the officers arriving at the scene. If he had gone the other way, he would have met them head on. During the stabbing at Lake Berryessa, the killer had a prolonged interaction with his victims. First, he tied them up, then stabbed them, and then finally rode on their car. The length of time spent at the crime scene increased the possibility of a third party showing up, but no one did. It's not known whether the Zodiac killer purposely spread his crimes across multiple jurisdictions,
he literally is begging to get caught.
Foresee how different agencies would have failed to close ranks and communicate poorly. Number 8. The final reason why the Zodiac killer was never caught was because he abruptly stopped killing. A hallmark of serial killers is their compulsion to murder. Rarely do serial offenders voluntarily cease killing sprees. Usually serial killers stop because they're caught and institutionalized in a prison or an asylum. It's possible the Zodiac killer might have stopped because he died.
That's true.
Some think he moved away from the Bay Area and continued to kill in another location. Or he may have continued to kill in the Bay Area but for reasons unknown kept silent about his crimes. In the early 1970s, a few unsolved murders happened in Santa Rosa, California, which some point to the Zodiac killer for. Others believe that the Zodiac killer quit because they were caught and jailed just for a different crime. Some think that the Zodiac killer completed his mission and that's why he stopped murdering.
That's This is low-key what I think. This is low-key what I think happened. That was my guess on it. Like, he was doing this to expose, like, you know, the police stuff, like, oh, have a good laugh, like, oh, y'all can't catch me, like, y'all butt, basically. And he proved his point, did his due, and now he just like, all right, I'm done. Because that's what it seemed like to me. Like, if you're sending letters to these newsletters, news articles, police, blah blah blah, this and third, and they can't find you, it's just like, all right, what's the point? Like, you see what I'm saying? That's what I think happened. I don't know, I could be wrong.
The real objective wasn't murder, but to make society pay attention to him. He succeeded at that, perhaps even beyond his wildest dreams. Some 40 years later, the Zodiac Killer has become an American legend, our Jack the Ripper. Countless internet groups are devoted to him. The police ended up diverting a significant amount of resources arrayed against him to chase obscure leads in an attempt to solve his puzzles. He inspired and spawned at least 2 other serial killers that we know of, perhaps more. He's inspired several movies, fiction and documentaries, books, and even songs. Even now, the case has been reopened. The police convinced that in their files is a clue that just has to be found to crack the case wide open and reveal the identity of one of America's most infamous serial killers. What do you think was the biggest issue in preventing the capture of the Zodiac Killer? Let us know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out our other video. You won't believe who Jack the Ripper is. New 2019 DNA test reveals his identity. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.
Yeah, nah, that's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Like, I don't even know what to say. I just don't understand how he's like so big though. Like I get it, but I feel like there's other people who've done way worse. Like, I feel like I genuinely feel like he just did it just to do it and never got caught. So he just said, "Oh, okay, because I didn't get caught, it's no fun. Let me stop." You see what I'm saying? That's kind of that how I feel, which is crazy in itself. But like, I feel like some of these other serial killers be on some crazy stuff.